2 more. 35 seconds. Has picked up a flashbang to be wielded. Chucks the nade in. That's going to be smack bang on point. He takes half health as well. Swings in. Big spam. Only one of the bullets connects. Complexity 14. Movistar Riders 15.
Yeah, could we see another OT? That's now the question that's going on the minds of the international squad. Alex is going to have to drop a couple of weapons over, and after JKS kind of whiffs it, struggles to really be able to find much. It's Esatag to recover that round with a spray transfer. And blame F2, being able to just stay alive, work with Poison in that last situation, make sure Alex cannot get that clutch forward. Round 30, we've seen it before, and we've also seen this sort of buy. 2 Galils and Tech9, they've only got a couple of AKs.
It's about how you use it here, Dweg. Can you close the gap? Can you find narrow engagements? Tech9, of course, the pistol, not effective usually against the full buy, but towards ramp, I mean, we've seen some ridiculous stuff with this pistol so far in this event. Talking about the 1v3 in the dig game was something to behold. Nonetheless, round 30. Smoke, Molly deployed, Alex now taking pressure towards outside. The rest of Movistar Riders sticking towards lobby here. Do they want to try and play the A-Rap? The classic G2 that we saw, right? Leave a player outside, move maybe towards A, but instead Alex, he's going to duck down towards lower. Blame F, spam, unsuccessful. Movistar Riders, they're making their way towards ramp. It's going to be a B crunch.
That ramp is so open. Finally, we've got a rotation coming through for Poison. The first player of opposite peaks in dry Poison, even multi-frags. And there's another player to start getting into the action. That's now at least the first. Blame F getting into the right position.
4 on 3. Blame F, as you mentioned, here to accompany. Problem is, Pius and Alex, they're minimal HP. Deaths to join him, Galil in hand, single molly, double flash. That's all that can be expended here. They are going to switch over the weapons.
The backstab. Blame F's coming in the back.
And Blame F. Yes, of course, he's in for one. Deaths to scoop up the bomb. Faces into the jaws. Will find him. 15 seconds to go. Dipping in the molly. Wants to find more. Problem is, timer constraint. 8 seconds to go. JKS and Esatag set up. Nice frag. 5 seconds. They've got to hold the silos. Oh, and the bomb's not denied. All down to Cold in a 1-on-2.
Oh my goodness, what a hold that was coming in for Alex, defending his teammate as the bomb goes down, and they've even got the read that Coldzera's coming out from this ramp position. Defs has got the angle on lock, but players are playing together, and Movistar Riders create the upset. What a round, defending the planter, they get the job done, and they create the upset. 100th in the world, beating number 16. That's a massive victory.
Very surprising. down, numbers advantage, Kit on Speedy, no smoke to accompany, it's just the double flash.
Even Rao's taking the distraction, just wasting further and further time. And they realize now that 5-on-3 situation for the T's, they've already got the apartment's control. There's not really going to be a way in for us. So let's hold on to what we've got. Hold on to the Kevlar, the Kit, and the double flash for Speedy. Dignitas just Halzo doing work, running wild out to that short side, being able to open up the site, dealing with Cressy and Slacks, and not really getting pressured at all.
Willing to save, keep the half arm. I'm not sure if Walls, he's taken damage to the Kevlar, whether he's going to stick with it. Of course, Sprout, I think they were looking to reinvest in this round, having Fathom been dinked. They are going to go hunting Freiburg. Is he going to find anything back and forth between the angles? He shall find one. Nonetheless, a second round. An opportunity maybe for the reinvestment. Sprout is whether they want to try and dig deep, find this force. They will. Cressy, CZ, half armor smoke. They're willing to go for this here, Sprout. I mean, cautious, I think, is the word you've got to use into this round, because Dig, a couple of SMGs, unkevlar'd opponent, or rather, no helmet opponents, that could spill into absolute anarchy.
And it's the SMGs on the two veteran guys of this team, Forest and Freiburg, trying to see what they can find. Early nade stack up to the top of Banana. Heavy stack coming through from Sprout, and now we're starting to see some of that dropped utility. One of those smokes being dropped over to an anchor player on that B side could allow Speedy to rotate back to A if he likes.
Probably the most applicable map as well here, Dweg, for the utility dropping, right? We see a lot of people chucking the smokes in towards spawn, lobbing them towards B, just giving the B players that extra molly, that extra smoke, that extra shot at success. But this round, of course, gambling incorrectly. Dig go for an apps pop. They have themselves the moto smoke. They have themselves the site control. And well, there you go. It is going to be surely Dig for a second.
Seven. See if he can make any magic happen this time.
Pretty slow, sort of creeping approach here from NKT. Start out with a 1-1-3 and then very quickly start to move towards this A side of the map. You see them taking this long control. So not too crazy of an expectation really for an anti-eco. You'd want to take those long range duels, maybe go on towards that A site, two-man set up in towards bathrooms here for Vici Gaming. Looking to potentially just hold on to that part of the map if they can and do any economic damage possible. Vici Gaming dropped their last smoke over towards Monster, but it actually does miss, so unfortunate. They're pretty much out of utility.
Once again, no presence towards the B bomb site for NKT. I am interested to see if that's just a pistol and anti-eco kind of thing, or if they really do heavily favor the A bomb site. We'll have to wait and see. Kaze does fire a shot through that flashbang, won't be able to connect with the head, but a little bit of damage starting to come through onto those NKT players as they make their way into the bomb site. Duck his head back up, and not going to be able to do too much with the pistol. So in the end, Vici Gaming have not been successful in defending the A bomb site, which is going to mean NKT get the bomb down and start to try to push the issue. Guns starting to be lost here and there for the T side though, and Soaking has an MP9 in hand. I'm not necessarily suggesting that the round win is on the cards here for Vici Gaming, but they might be able to do a bit more damage. And there you have it. Advent gets himself another one. Kill with the CZ, grabs the MP9, and just decides to take the percentage play and back his way out of the A bomb site to try and save that SMG through to the next round. He would have had a CZ in hand as well, so he can chuck this one over to one of his teammates, you know, give them at least a smaller chance of being able to get through the next round. But so far, not too bad from NKT.
Yep. I dare say Vici quite happy with the damage that they've done, as long as they can take a couple of guns away in towards that next round. But it's always good to see the team that's not a huge underdog, but at least a little bit of an underdog get off to a good start. You know, get that momentum rolling for themselves and get the confidence going. You never want to get kind of slammed in the first couple of rounds because it can take you a little bit too long to sometimes pick yourself up, especially against a very quality opponent. In this case, I'd still say the best in the Asian region. So, gonna need every edge you can get.
Yeah, I mean, it's still obviously early days in this match, so I mean, you can't count out chickens before they hatch, but it does seem to be, not the worst of starts for NKT. You'll take it. You'll take it. I think if someone offered you a 2-0 lead against Vici Gaming, yeah, you might have lost a couple of guns here. You'd probably still go for that. Particularly when it's on the T side here, it doesn't really give the opportunity for Vici to just get off to a rampaging start on that CT side. Get the AWP in Kaze's hands, get him getting aggressive, let Zokin kind of off the leash a little bit. Vici's going to have to be a little bit more reserved to start this map and series off, which is probably something that NKT will be happy to oblige. Once again, we are going back towards the A bomb site.
Yeah, this is just the epitome of structure. Map control into high percentage utility being used to minimize risk. Boost over the top from Orman, trying to be a little bit cheeky and find that pick, but gets his head taken off, and that's going to be a pretty decent amount of money in the bag for him, farming up with the Mac 10. Vici Gaming at this point, kind of setting up for some exit frags or some damage if they can find it, because they're going to be buying up next round anyway.
Jamyoung goes down. Kaze's holding onto a CZ. But Excurate is going to be more than enough to match up to that weapon. And it looks like Impression's on a little bit of an expedition here as well. Don't necessarily mind to see that from NKT. I would be very disappointed though if they did drop one of the two AKs, but it looks like Score and Zion are both relatively safe where they are, so they'll be okay. And NKT will get through with all 5 guns alive this time. Though that in itself poses a bit of a question. Excurate's holding on to a Mac 10. Do you continue to take that forward here into round 4? Are they going to upgrade that weapon? Looks like for now they're going to hang on to it.
Pretty good AWP matchup. Actually, a bit of a throwback AWP matchup for many a year is Impression versus Kaze. Even going back to Impression playing in Tyloo. So these two players in the AWP role very, very familiar with one another. Initial utility towards the B side of the map from NKT, applying that utility pressure, making it kind of look like they're trying to draw some nades out of the CT side, I think. Still 3 towards B here for NKT, but after that initial utility usage, they really haven't committed in too much. Good news for them is they have drawn a lot of utility out of Vici Gaming, some counter flashes, that double smoke over towards Monster, maybe a Molotov drawn out as well. But after all said and done, NKT, someone digs down, going to start working towards this A side of the map.
Well, that seems to be the tried and true, doesn't it, for NKT? I wonder how long it takes Vici to figure that out. This is now what will be the 4th round in a row where NKT have literally not put a single player into the connector across to the B bomb site. They've really not set foot in that area of the map at all so far. So at what point is Vici just saying, well, we're just going to put our players up on A, I guess?
We'll see. Kaze looking to see if he can pick off any of these players before the execute gets kicked off. NKT, out come the smokes, a few Molotovs being replied in. A lot of damage actually, and Kaze's going to find the first there.
He's in the fire though, he's burning alive, and Impression is going to make 2 entries count quite nicely for NKT. In the meanwhile, Advent has managed to get behind, and Zoking is also there. So NKT are going to have to aggress somewhere, and in doing so, they run into Jamyoung. It's on to Urkas in a 1-on-3. He's already found the first. He'll get the second as well, but he's not quite going to push it onto the defusing Advent, which means that Vici will win their first gun round. Pros never fake, Pilski, and that is a mantra that has been drilled into Advent, I'd imagine, because he did not get off that defuse for a second, and he wins the round for Vici Gaming. That said, it is only with the 1 gun alive. It was the AWP that was retained through for Vici, so there is that benefit, but it's a very costly round if that's going to be your first gun round.
Yeah, good to see them get across the line though. And after all said and done, utility's still looking pretty good. Only that 1 kit, but they have to go down to 2 of those MP9s, which is unfortunate, especially because we're in the A1S meta now, where you can usually go for an A1S a lot of the time. Doesn't cost you as much as the A4s and whatnot. Nice opening pick from Kaze. Should put a little bit more pressure on NKT now.
Zoking's going to try and get aggressive, and he's going to make it work as well. Urkas just bouncing up and down in the playground. Gets his head taken off by that MP9. 4 versus 3 now for NKT, and this is where it starts to get a bit more difficult against a team that is of the caliber of Vici Gaming. It has looked pretty good so far for NKT, right? They won the pistol, they were pretty decent in the anti-ecos. Even that first gun round, you could make the argument that NKT probably did enough and just didn't quite execute in the post plant. You know, losing 2 players to Advent and Zoking without reply was a little bit disappointing after getting the bomb plant down and having the numbers advantage. But now that they don't have that numbers advantage, we get to really see what NKT can actually offer us on this map of Overpass. If this is going to be their choice, if this is what you're going to choose against Vici, you have to believe that, you know, they're going to have something that, you know, if plan A doesn't work, then plan B is certainly something that they can lean on to. Otherwise, it's going to be a very quick night tonight, because we know how good Vici Gaming can be. Flash is getting tossed over to Excurate, and he's going to be the one to send Score and Impression into the bomb site. And it's a good catch onto Kaze. The Flash at least. They've also spotted him out. So 9 seconds left on the clock, and Impression's going to duck his head down inside of that smoke to plant the bomb. And NKT will at least be successful in getting themselves a post plant.
Yeah, setting up for the retake. They do have the man advantage. Only this single smoke, but the kit is on Advent, the player with the smoke. So NKT. Just trying to hold on to this post plant from Long and Bathrooms.
Oh, not so bad so far for NKT. A 2-for-1 trade. Impression needs to pop his head back up. It is Orman, and he's got an M4 in hand, and he's going to catch Impression off guard, but does he have the time for the defuse? I don't think so, Pilski. Orman thought he did, and that is a mistake that is going to cost him the M4. Not that I'm sure he would be able to get out of there anyway. NKT will win another very, very close round, 4-1.
It's good to see. I'm going to reinvest here. Now heading into an anti-eco. You are going to see a tactical timeout for Vici. They're going to have a chat about how they want to proceed through the rest of this half. Their money is a bit all over the shop. The main thing they're probably considering is NKT's cash is quite low, so tempted to go for an investment. Just a question of how much you're going to be committing into it.
It's like a timeout coming through for Vici Gaming. Probably not the position that they had expected to be in, starting out here on Overpass. You know, we used to see Overpass kind of cropping up a little bit in those matches between Tyloo and Vici, and there was a period where we were really not too sure why Vici was picking this map, particularly against the likes of Tyloo, because it just didn't seem like they had a great understanding of it or that they were particularly comfortable on it. But it did start to come good towards the end of 2020, I remember. So I'm hoping that it's kind of still there for Vici. NKT would probably be hoping for the opposite. And this is actually the first round now where we've sort of seen NKT kind of showing at least a tendency to head towards the B bomb site as opposed to go towards A. They are stuck behind a smoke at the moment though. But once that fades, we get to see what NKT has got for us on the B side of the map.
Yeah, I mean, pretty big investment here for Vici Gaming. Really trying to break the money of the other team. They are starting to walk back towards that B side of the map. It is just Jam Young there, shoulder spotting, has a smoke to drop, but no real support outside of that.
Little tag onto Jam Young. Nothing too substantial. He'll get the important information for Vici, though, that NKT are actually on this side of the map. It's not looking like the strongest of defenses for Vici. I wonder if NKT at this point are just trying to burn through some of that very, very weak utility that Vici Gaming came into this round with. They've got it down to just one smoke now and one flash. One of those smokes is going to go onto the monster tunnel, and NKT might inevitably have to push through it. Advent is still holding on to one as well, but Urcast opens things up. It'll end up being a 1-for-1 because he tries to push on through. Zoking is doing a good job of holding on. He's got multiple angles to be aware of, but NKT just pause, and Zoking is being given 1v1 after 1v1 after 1v1 after 1v1, Pilski. And that's 4 kills for Zoking. He makes it look easy, and in the end, Vici come away with the round and make it look pretty clean in the end. So, I don't know. I mean, that to me, I felt like it was a good setup from NKT, but they just didn't explode onto the bomb site the way I thought they would.
Yeah, it's a surprise, actually, to see Vici come away with that one. They get a couple of upgrades as well, which is always awesome to see. A few AKs in there, so that big risk that they took in terms of investing in towards the buy, even without the most optimal buy or optimal utility, has gone exceptionally well for them. NKT going to go for a similar sort of buy here. Definitely not as convincing as what Vici were able to put together in the previous, but pistols and armor, pretty limited util, only 2 smokes, single flash to try to get through the majority of this map. And they're going to start moving towards A. It's interesting to watch NKT play this T side. Very much this pack mentality, just working together. You know, a lot of teams do rely on individual players to sort of clear parts of the map or take agency by themselves, but NKT really just five-manning it quite often. It's interesting to watch.
I mean, I wonder if that's going to be something that we'll see a little bit more of on other maps as well. Do you have the hero AK out in this round for NKT? And it's interesting that that's been thrown over to Urcast, who, you know, as far as I still understand, is the in-game leader. Not going to be able to get the shots onto Zoking, just gets absolutely deleted. So the AK will fall back into the hands of Impression. I mean, for his own right, I think Impression's been doing a little bit of the entry work for NKT, so it might not be the worst thing in the world for him to have that AK. He's going to have to hit some banger shots here, isn't he, Pilski? 17 seconds left as NKT try to make their way into the site with no utility at all. Zoking's on one angle, he's got his teammate on the other. Kaze's there to help out, Orman as well, and they will be successful in getting the bomb plant down. Impression also finding a couple of really nice kills, but he's run out of bullets, tries to hide inside of the smoke. Will not be successful, and Vici Gaming will come away with their third on the CT side. It's been a very backwards and forwards half at the moment, hasn't it? It's just, I don't really feel like either of these two teams has gotten into a position where we can say they're looking like a stronger team on Overpass right now.
Yeah, that gives me a lot of hope that this is going to be a bit of a banger series, to be honest. As for NKT, though, they dropped that round with C4 going down, so yeah, I don't think they're going to be investing in here unless they wanted to go for some kind of weird buy where you're dropping AKs over. But at that point, you know, not even going to really break Vici's money that hard anyway. So it is just the investment in the pistols, looking to chip some damage away.
So far, doesn't look like they're going to be too successful. A bit spread out across the map, a little bit of a different approach from NKT than what we've seen already. Score does get a nice headshot onto Jamyoung. So that's sort of the individual prowess that we're talking about that is capable of coming from the NKT roster. I think every single one of these players on their day is an absolute firepower machine, but Score more than encapsulates that. If he continues to hit headshots with the Deagle, you know, it's going to be a tough day at the office for Vici.
I mean, it's looking like a tough day at the office for Kaze right now, but hold on. This always helps. Having that connector control, having all of short B. Vici can rotate accordingly. You've got Orman up here with a double flash to be able to support his teammate. Vici going to start to fall back on some more passive angles. They're going to let NKT have the site, but that's where Zoking can activate.
Yeah, this is all part of the plan for Vici Gaming. Zoking lining them up from behind and making it look easy. What a day so far for Zoking, by the way. 14 and 5. He is making the difference for Vici in a lot of these rounds. Score will try to wrap around behind, and once again, it is Zoking to answer. And Zion eventually falls to Orman as well. So Vici, slowly but surely, are working their way back into this half. They've equalized the scoreline now, and their money is starting to build up as a result. I got to say, when you've got Zoking going 15 and 5 on the CT side, that makes me a little bit worried about NKT's chances when they move over onto CT as well, because we know Zoking's just going to go bananas when he moves on to T.
Oh, we've seen so many big halves from Zoking on the CT side, though. Like, it's going to be interesting, actually, because he was one of the players where, you know, there's some players in these minor regions where they have really sick A4s, and I think Zoking was definitely one of them. Look at this aggression straight up through Fountain. NKT being forced to respond to Zoking right now, but he's hitting nothing but heads.
Well, eventually he does get taken down by Zion, so that might be a sigh of relief for NKT. It feels like the raid boss is out of the picture now, and then you look across the rest of the scoreboard. I mean, Kaze, Advent, Orman, Jamyoung, they haven't been doing awfully, but it's not 16-6, so at least it feels possible now for NKT. And always, you know, you would always say like a one pick on the T side is a little bit more favorable than one pick on the CT side as well. So I think in all facets, NKT are probably happy with that trade.
Yeah, I think that's not always true though. And this might be one of those cases where NKT, they've lost that pick very, very far back and they're lacking the map control. So to be able to leverage this 4-on-4 advantage, they're going to have to actually go back and take that map control and make something happen with it. Initial utility over towards bathrooms, trying to make it look like they are working towards that A side of the map. But after that initial util, which actually has
Going to be a smoke down on the site. Oh, maybe it doesn't even matter if Score is just going to hit headshots. That'll give the opportunity for Zion to get the bomb plant down. Sounds like that Molotov was extinguished by the smoke, so it's not even going to cost him any HP. And Urkast also catches Advent. NKT are still fighting hard on the T side of Overpass. This is a great contest, actually. I'm really enjoying this match, Pilski. I feel like we've been missing out a little bit by not getting to watch these two teams play against each other more often, because NKT throughout all of 2020 could just not qualify for top 4 tournaments.
dude, they just kept losing like quarterfinals or grand finals of the qualifier, and it was a bit frustrating. But even like now seeing them in a top 4 tournament, you can see that's the thing about NKT, and the thing about online play in Asia as well is that even now, just the other week, I was looking at one of their ESEA results where they've lost to Sigma. I mean, those are the kind of teams that will take you out in some of those open qualifiers, no matter who you are. But you can see from NKT, and I dare say this probably would have been true back when we were missing out on them as well. Sure, you can lose to a Sigma, but that doesn't mean you can't take on a Vici Gaming.
Yeah, rock, paper, scissors kind of a situation, maybe. Sigma just rolls out with some crazy stuff, and NKT not prepared for it. They're like, oh no.
Hits you with the Thailand special, dude.
Yep. Well, I mean, NKT right now are definitely competing with Vici Gaming, which is not something we can say for a lot of teams in the Asia region. But, of course, we know that Overpass is not Vici Gaming's favorite match to head on to, at least at the moment. So maybe there's a little bit of that going around as well. I'll be interested to see how this changes when we do move on to Nuke, regardless of the result of map 1. And to be fair, I mean, still 5-4, like, it's not like Vici's out of this discussion just yet.
Well, I mean, it almost, at this point, with how much NKT's been leaning towards long, this almost kind of feels like a counter-strat a little bit. Like, they know that Vici doesn't really play long setups very much, and they're trying to abuse that a little bit. The timing straight up this long wall might be deadly for Kaze.
Yeah, he hasn't spotted any of that information. Now some util starting to get fired across, but he might have gotten himself out a little bit too late. Eventually does duck back into bank, and he'll survive as a result. But of course, it is the A bomb site that's cracked open by NKT, and this time they are keeping a bit of a heads up on what's happening through the connector. They really know that that is an area of the map that's been problematic for them, and it continues to be. As Urkast drops to Advent, Zion's going to go on a bit of an expedition, spots out Advent, Jamyoung trades, but can't get Execute as well. It's a double kill for the Indonesian superstar. And Orman and Kaze will now have to try to clutch out a 2-on-2. Impression is up the creek without a panel, and Execute is covered off by Kaze. So in the end, actually, the 2v2 goes quite comprehensively to Vici Gaming. And again, they'll equalize.
Just back and forth, never really stops. Bomb plant, though, as well as that strong money, means that NKT probably going to put a pretty solid buy together here. Only Zion is a little bit further behind everybody else in terms of cash. Might have to go down to a Khalil, but considering the fact that only 2 players survived there for Vici Gaming, money is still very fragile. Games being back and forth, so the loss bonus isn't too crazy for either side, really. And that's where we're getting right into the middle of the half, straight into round number 11, into a gun round here, and you can see either one of these teams taking this round could be huge for them to take a little bit more of the majority heading into the half.
So they want to pick the pace up a little bit here. NKT flashes through. They're good for impression to find the entries. Can't quite spin around to get the player on short. And Vici Gaming have mind-gamed NKT a little bit by having Orman there. They were not expecting the two players to come from short. And that's kind of what's brought NKT unstuck a little bit in the entry. It was a 3-for-2 trade favoring Vici. And now they have, of course, got that 3-on-2. But NKT have taken some nice map control. Urcast has worked his way up into the sniper's window. All it takes is one from Xcurate, but he's not quite going to be able to get that, and Orman gets it done for Vici Gaming. Now it's not just the Zoking show. Now Orman is starting to light up the scoreboard as well. And that is a dangerous time to be a T-sided player.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, bomb plant, the money's still a little bit weird. Not sure if they're going to try to put a buy together here. You got a couple on 3.7. You're going to be pretty light on the util if you try to for NKT. Alternatively, you can go for one of these half buys, but, you know, Deagle Armor half buys and split and pick approach maybe not as viable in this meta. Just want to note as well that you saw NKT really try to mix things up. They were going for a lot of long pressure. Here's the half buy, by the way, but they were going for a lot of long pressure earlier on, and then they tried to mix things up by going straight out Monster. And honestly, it felt like Vici Gaming was more so leaning towards the A side of the map with their CT setup in the last round. So was a good adjustment from NKT, but doesn't end up netting them around, unfortunately. Other thing I wanted to note as well is that Orman is one of those players who, even when A4 was considered superior, was using the A1S, so he must love this update.
This is going to be the Orman buff patch, isn't it?
I think so, dude.
He's going to Photoshop his head on top of Arnold Schwarzenegger, and that's the kind of image that it evokes a little bit. See what Orman can do. You know, he has been... I think he's been one of those players that has been a little inconsistent at times, but I was a little bit more happy with what we got towards the later stages of 2020 than what we had towards the early stages of 2020. And it was kind of funny for me to kind of keep going back to the 2020 results and statistics and whatever, but I feel like that's almost some of the most recent games that we've kind of been able to watch from Vici Gaming. They just really haven't played a whole lot this year, so it's kind of all that we have to go off. But either way, as you say, A1S should be good for Orman, and it seems to be so far. Kaze's watching the bathrooms once again with the AWP. He's always in this position on overpass, and he started off well in this round. It is just the pistols for NKT, but they can still get a bit of work done. Zion able to overwhelm Zoking, and Kaze not quite able to land that shot. Does give a bit of inroads for NKT into the site itself. Have to deal with Orman though, and Urcast didn't quite check the angle. Still, he's bailed out of trouble by score, but it's not going to be enough to win NKT the round. Vici do drop a couple more guns than they might have liked there, but overall, they get through the round, and now they start to increase the gap a little bit. It's 7-5. It was feeling a bit tit for tat for me, Pilsky. It was feeling quite even for a while, but now it seems like Vici's starting to pull ahead a little bit, and that concerns me for the health of this series.
Yeah, but as you see with the lovely economy graph that we've been enjoying throughout all of IEM Fall in Oceania and some of the other regions as well, that was a good round in terms of economic damage from NKT. With that half bike, definitely got themselves a couple of kills. Score really wants that short B control. He is not interested in waiting around for it either. Loses about 50 of his HP. Jam Young being closer to that Molotov with the right graphic settings, you can have a big vision advantage over a player that is pretty far away, and he's used that quite effectively to find that opening pick. He's actually still on the A4, by the way.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, you know, it could be potentially a positional thing, or it could be just a comfort thing. I suppose you never really know. Maybe he just likes it better.
No. Into the 4-on-5 now. Not a whole lot of utility left in the belts of Vici Gaming. Couple of smokes, full belt for Kaze, but he's over towards that divider area, so not going to be able to find any of that utility useful until the retake starts to come in as NKT getting ready to hit this B site.
This is less of a hit and more of a creep. Score eventually starts to let Vici know what's going on. Jam Young does well to get the trade. He's also got Advent there to cover him off. So the site is not secured yet for NKT, But Xcurate will at least feel like he's got enough space to tap the bomb, try and draw a bit more information out from Vici. Another 1-for-1 trade, but Kaze starts to come into the question, and Zoking from behind once again. How does he continue to find these flanks? I have no idea. But Vici Gaming are up to 8, and NKT, the drought starts to look a little bit worse.
Yeah, no doubt. They're still bringing them down to 2 players surviving, so the money is still fragile for the CT side. And as you can see, they've reduced their loss bonus down to nothing, whereas NKT bomb plants as well as pretty strong loss bonus means that they have options to buy. But again, they're going to go for another one of these half buys, and you only see 1 Deagle and Tech9s across the board. It's what I'm expecting to see a little bit more, you know. I kind of referred to it before as, you know, Deagle armor split pick meta on the half pies back before, but now definitely expecting some more of these pre-planned strats with the techies and armor, CCs, P250s on these half pies, and it seems like NKT looking towards this B site. What a read from Orman. Almost finds score.
How has Score gotten away with his life there?
I don't know, mate.
Oh, he's nearly killed Zine as well.
Yeah, that is like one of my favorite roles, is that short B rotator.
Well, Kaze not able to hit the shot, but luckily he's got Advent standing right behind him, who's spraying everyone down with the M4. Just the 1 kill in this round for NKT, and yeah, I mean, a lot of these rounds, Vici have been down to some low player numbers. They've taken only 1 or 2 guns through, but end of the day, you get to the end of the half here, it's the final round, they've got a full buy, so they've managed their money pretty well. By virtue of winning pretty much every single round.
Oh yeah,
And
pretty easy to buy when you just don't lose. So
just don't lose. I mean, that makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah.
Now that you say it, I've never really thought about it like that.
Yeah.
Like
Why is it so hard to qualify for tournaments? Just don't lose, dude.
Look, it was a great start for NKT. They were sort of going toe to toe with Vici Gaming, but now it feels like they've just fallen off the pedestal a little bit, and Vici has kind of run away with the half.
Yeah, you never know. Oh, again, great spam through. I mean, Orman just doing a fantastic job as this short B rotator. It's one of the most satisfying roles to know a lot of nerdy stuff in. I remember going and watching like the Zipnix demos back in the day with just the HE nade lineups and the spams you can do and the supportive utility for your teammates. So many options in that role, and Orman doing a fantastic job of it. Here's the monster smoke out for the man, just to be able to help the boys out a little bit more. But NKT... they've gotten this short B control, and I was about to say they haven't lost a pick yet, but that's where Orman comes in again with the beautiful spam straight through the wall. Other 2 players have taken a lot of damage as well, so NKT having a really rough time of things before they can really make it in towards their late round play.
Clock's ticking as well for them, isn't it? 50 seconds left in the half. Urcast! Well, that's a little bit of a taste of your own medicine, I suppose, Orman. He got a little bit overeager, didn't he? He was getting a little bit predictable, and Urcast shuts it down. So well done by NKT to punish that. However, if they do make their way towards the A bomb site, there isn't an undefended site here by any means. And once again, Zoking's gone on a little bit of a scenic tour around the bathrooms. And he's actually going to come up behind Urcast and get another kill. So this must be an incredibly frustrating game for NKT to be playing. Zoking just appears behind them every single round, it seems like. That said, they are into the bomb site itself. Advent tries to go through the smoke to deny a bomb plant. Now, Zoking's caught out in no man's land, but the bomb, well, I was going to say, won't get planted. Luckily, NKT got all the kills they need as we head into halftime. 9-6 the scoreline favoring Vici Gaming. Not sure who it ends up really benefiting more, but I suppose Vici will be happy with what they've got there on the CT side.
brother.
Well, we're jumping back into the second half here, and it is Vici Gaming that have got the lead. 9-6, the scoreline out of that first half. Pilski, what's your take here? Is 9-6 on the CT side about the pass score for Overpass? Were you expecting more from Vici or more from NKT?
I mean, I don't even bloody know anymore, mate. With this new update, we've seen some crazy one-sided halves, and some of those have come on Overpass in particular on that CT side. Some 11-4s, 12-3s. So I'll reserve my opinion for a later date. Excurate, very cheeky, up behind the tree there. Does find Kaze, who is solo running straight up long. Some party shirts on the Vici Gaming team models here. Yeah, they're looking to have a great time in this half, aren't they?
Oh, well, I wonder if they are going to or not. It might be dependent on how this pistol does go. There's a smoke in for the sniper's window. That is going to push her cast and score away from that position and kind of allow Vici to just walk into B. Kaze drew enough of a rotate, and Zoking does not want to slow down what he was doing on the CT side. That's what I was talking about, Pilski. I was saying, if Zoking's going to be doing that on CT, you can only imagine what he's going to get up to on the T side. He continues to charge forward. That's his third kill for the round, and Zine is left on 2 HP. Vici Gaming, they take the pistol 4v5.
Yeah, I mean, that's the epitome of confidence, isn't it? Where you plant and you go, could wait for the retake to come in, or I could just push into your spawn and kill you so that, you know, we could just get this over with faster.
Well, Zion at least is going to get to save his armor. Unless he gets caught by Vici Gaming, who are actually quite close by. Like, why are they
Jordan,
here?
There's $300 to be made, mate.
Yeah, I
What do you
guess so.
mean? I'm not leaving that money on the table.
Unfortunately, Vici don't quite catch up with him. But 10-6 scoreline, and obviously Vici getting the pistol does mean that they're in a very nice spot now on the T side. NKT will force their way back in with the Deagles, CZ there as well, and of course the scout for Excurate, but definitely looking a bit healthier for Vici.
Yeah, I mean, another aspect of this Deagle nerf is it does actually affect CT side second round buys, because a big thing was you would buy Deagle and then you could hold a lot of angles where you could just spam at the body and hold things down pretty nicely. Not really going to be a reality anymore. And obviously, losing that scouting player pretty early on will also affect those Deagles. You want to get those tags up. You want to be able to take shots, fall back to safer angles if you're Excurate. And at that point, you can wound some of those Ts to make it easier for the pistols to finish them off. Fortunately, not going to be a reality that NKT has available to them anymore. Vici Gaming, very similarly to what NKT were doing on their CT side, are working that A to long A control and going for an A side execute in the anti-force.
Zoking, absolutely fearless, just charges his way into the A-bomb side. He's 22-9 for the map so far. Wants the 30, I dare say. And Vici Gaming are going to get their way into A. Doesn't look like NKT are particularly interested in trying anything funny here. They'll just try and save the guns through to the next round. They do have to take another save, so it's obviously fair enough. Give yourself a pretty decent chance into the next as well. If you can take all of these deagles and armor.
Yeah,
You're
if
missing
you
the
catch
scout,
player
but-
hunting as well, then that's going to be a pistol that you could drop over to Excurate.
Yeah, that would
Would
be
be
the
nice to
ideal
try
one.
and go find that scout, but don't think it's going to work.
Yeah, no chance. No chance. That area is swarming with Vici players. And 11 is now the scoreline for the T's. So we talked about the drought for NKT. I mean, they got up to what, like 5 or even 6. But ever since then, it's been pretty much Vici the whole time.
Yeah, I'm getting worried for NKT, if I'm honest. Vici Gaming, lots of room to work with on this T side. You know, I'm trying to think back to, games where Vici Gaming threw away a lead like this, and all of those memories are against Tai Lu, and this is not Tai Lu, so I'm pretty sure Vici closes these kind of games out. We'll see, though. Still room for NKT. Definitely won't count them out. Like you said, they've kept over a lot of this pistol armor. And they're rolling out. Whole squad's heading into short beat.
Maybe they can find Orman. If they continue. Which, if you've got 4 players right there, I almost expect that they're at some point going to have to start to move. It's going to be nice, obviously, if Vici walks into short water there and you're able to pick them off, but inevitably you have to sort of cut your losses as NKT and say, well, we tried the stack, it didn't work out, what are we going to do now? Vici didn't fall into our trap.
You got that player close towards short beat, so Urcast might be able to hear some of these footsteps and inform the rotates, and I'm looking at the CTs starting to head back into spawn, and I'm assuming that this will be the B stack coming out. Urcast sees the cross, and he's able to pick off Orman before this side hit does come in.
Oh, that's a good shot from Urcast with the Deagle. Does catch Zoking. Numbers are looking a bit limited for Vici Gaming. Jam Young, as ever though, is going to be the rock that gets Vici Gaming back into a difficult looking round. And as soon as it looks exciting for NKT, it is just quickly pulled away from them by Vici. Expert stuff.
Wow.
They don't even lose another player after the fact. So 12-6, doubling the scoreline of NKT now, and obviously getting themselves off to a very good half, or start in the half here, I should say. We will obviously sort of reserve judgment until we see the first gun round from NKT, though. I think that's fair at least.
I would say a tournament where player models have been a thing for a while. It's just interesting to watch, isn't it?
It's like, in this one, it's kind of like they've got like some sort of VIP that they need to protect, because I didn't see who it was, but there was one guy with
Jam
different
Young.
skin.
They're all protecting Jam Young.
Protecting Jam Young. He's carrying like a bag of money, and the other guys are like undercover party goers or something.
Is this Payday? Are we watching Payday right now?
It literally feels like it.
Oh, well, first gun round is probably worth talking about rather than just memes, but,
Depends what kind of
see.
person you are.
yeah, I suppose. Progression Smoke, out a monster there for Vici Gaming. Trying to draw out some utility from the CTs before they actually commit to this B-side execute. There are plenty of NKT players over here, though. So, still plenty of utility as well. Could definitely hold down this this push.
King wants to work his way into the bomb site, not able to hit the entrance. This time, an Impression had a chance for 2. He's not going to get it, but he will be traded back down by score. So overall, not too shabby from NKT on that B defense. But they are still going to have some more that they need to deal with, and that is in the name of Jam Young making his way out of Connector, catching Excurate off guard, and now it throws a fox among the henhouse for NKT. They need to scramble back up to A. That is where Vici Gaming is headed, and that is where Vici Gaming have actually managed to get a bomb plan as well.
Yeah, they should be able to get off the site here. No utility to stop that cross being guarded from jump up, but Vici Gaming actually digging their heels into the site, and they're having a tough time getting out of there. Zion's going to find the first pick, and Kaze is essentially going to have to hit every shot around this default box. A very difficult prospect. Does get isolated by Urcast, who gets a nice couple of kills in on that retake. He's going to pick up the AWP as well, so clutched up nicely by NKT. They were put in a very difficult situation. I was looking at Excurate. it's always kind of crazy to see an AWP player trying to rotate through the middle of the map. I think we saw something like that from Urcast in DreamHack Oceania. And to be honest, I was looking at the fact that it was Exurate, and I was like, are we going to get a couple of like quick scopes, shotgun AWPing? That would be just textbook Exurate.
Look, I don't know who
when
you
he
were
got,
talking about, but I'm definitely sure it wasn't Urcast playing in DreamHack Oceania.
Really? I said Urcast? Alistair.
Yeah, you said Urcast. I was like,
Not even
who the hell are you talking about?
I thought Oceania, and then my mind immediately went to Urcast.
It's a bit of a throwback.
But, unfortunately, not to be anymore.
Yeah, not the case, but obviously having some success here on NKT, and nice to see some success for them to get that first round for themselves on the CT side, right? It's always nice to start off with the first gun round. It is not going to make for an easy half, though, for NKT. Money is still going to be a factor. Vici Gaming have been able to buy back straight into this round, and they're going to come into the B bomb site with revenge in mind, and that might be what they're about to get. Advent hits himself a nice opener. Kaze gets another, and the only frag to come through from NKT so far is from Urcast. It'll be him and Excurate to try to salvage it. Urcast is looking sharp in this round, though, as he gets another one onto Jam Young. What has Urcast had for breakfast before this round? I don't know. And where was it in all of the previous rounds? Because that was something pretty special. Now, though, leaves it to Urcast in the 1-on-2. Might be able to get a freebie here on the Kaze. He couldn't get off the bomb. And unfortunately, Urcast not able to hit the flick onto Advent will mean the Vici get the round and they break the CT economy.
Jordan, you just said Urcast when Exurate was clutching. We just can't stop saying Urcast instead of other players. All we want to say is Urcast.
Yeah, there you go. We just got Urcast on the brain. Love that guy a bit too much.
It's hard not to. It's hard not to.
Yeah.
Oh boy, coming down to an XVX 1v1. Oh, almost saw again Excurate. That's the kind of player that probably hits that quick scope, but not this time, unfortunately. And Vici Gaming securing themselves 13, but also resetting that CT side money. So if they complete this anti-eco, that'll be 14s up for them. And a 7-round lead, you'd definitely be backing them to close out their opponent's pick at that point. It would take a lot of grinding and tenacity from NKT, especially on that CT side. CT side comebacks are always super hard.
I think I was probably backing them before the series even started, Pilsy, but now that the scoreline is 13-7 and they're facing against an eco, yeah, I'm double backing Vici here. As unfortunate as it is to say, being a fan of NKT, that is a nice shot, though, from X-Hero, but not going to be able to get too much more done with just a USP. And it is Vici into the B site pretty comfortably. Zion will come up on the rotate. He's got a CZ. So does Urcast. There are, maybe some shenanigans afoot if those are able to get into the mix. But I dare say Vici is a bit too good of a squad to let that be an opportunity or a possibility for NKT.
CT's sitting back. They want Vici to push them. They were looking at Zoking earlier on that pistol round. They're like, surely Zoking's zooming into bank here and going to start to try to make a run for things. But Vici Gaming being their more disciplined selves this time, outside of Zoking, the aforementioned man, just peeking out long, looking for some anti-eco frags. Actually, a lot of guns starting to be dropped here by Vici Gaming. This is getting a little bit messy. All of those players going down. That's going to take a bit of a toll on the T-side money. You're looking at Ormond 3.5.
It's not even just
for
that.
Zoking.
It's the fact that it gives 3 guns over to the CTs as well. It rescues NKT's economy.
Yeah. No, 100%. Always helps to have those rifles over. Bit of a pretty massive economy swing, all things considered. If you're talking about being down 7 rounds, these are the edges that you need. Definitely will help out later on. Timeout here for Vici Gaming. Going to have a chat about what to do there. Should be a buy-through, but definitely worth chatting about, especially, before the update, you were definitely limited as to what options you wanted to go for when it came to some of these weird buy rounds where you've got a player who's sitting a little bit lower or 2 players that are sitting a little bit lower than everyone else. But now with the grenade dropping being introduced and the fact that teams have not had as long to adapt to that and play around it perfectly, I really do back just taking some extra tactical timeouts, having a chat about how you want to disperse your utility correctly and who wants to have grenades and who shouldn't.
Zoking's got a Mac 10 though, Pilsy. What about that?
Yeah, of course. That's a standard. It's been a while since I've seen that. The man just rolling straight into a site, holding W.
Very keen to see what he has on offer for us. At the moment, it seems like it's going to be the connector play from Vici, with Kaze just jump spotting in playground. He's making a lot of noise, and Zion is definitely hearing all of that. So Zion will have to be a little bit careful here, because I wasn't expecting it from Kaze. I was actually expecting it from Orman coming through from T-Spawn, but in the end, a couple of picks go through for Vici Gaming, and they'll pick the pace up in toward the A-bomb site. NKT, it sort of felt like there was a ray of sunshine, a little bit of hope for them after that last round, keeping those guns, but this will be 15 for Vici, no questions asked, and NKT just on the save. They have to let map point fall by the wayside.
Yeah, it's going to be a difficult pill to swallow. If they keep all these guns up, though, we were talking about the economic swing of picking up a couple of guns in the last. If they can make sure that they hold on to all three of these, you could see 2 drops over, or at least investment. And, at least they'll have a good buy heading into the next. So King scouting out one of these players towards ABC. Impression goes down, score goes down. Urcast is in the back of the connector, luckily, without any T's close to him. So he is the only one who will save, and that is bad news for NKT as Vici Gaming move on to map point.
He's got the tool tray there in front of him. Hopefully he's going to be able to rustle something up for the lads, because the rest of them are looking relatively poor. Urcast, he could drop a gun here. It's going to sacrifice a bit of the util that he'll be able to take through, but I suppose given the circumstances, that's probably okay. Does at least manage to get himself another incendiary, which means, another M4 dropped over to one of the NKT members, and they sort of come out of it okay in terms of the buy this round, and I guess that's fair enough, because look, I mean, what does it matter how much money you've got left at this point in time if you're NKT? You just need to win rounds. You just have to win this round. And that's I think, the first piece of the puzzle. We can start to talk about the economy in a couple of rounds' time. But for now, let's just get some rounds on the board.
Yeah,
they've had one this half.
Yeah, it's a rough time of things. Vici Gaming, unafraid to work the map. Usually you'll see the initial bathroom smoke and molly towards Divider. They just walk all the way straight up grass, and now there's pressure on Zion towards the A site.
So King is playing patiently for the moment. His output has slowed down a little bit from the CT side. He hasn't had as much work to do on the T side. The rest of the lads have picked things up on the Vici side. It's a nice spot to be in for Execurate, assuming he hits the shot. If not, he's going to be in a bit of a spot of bother if he has to fall back through that smoke. A couple of players watching for it, but they are not going to be able to do too much about it. Execurate hits the headshot onto Zoking, and this might still be a round for NKT off the back of Execurate's AWP. Zion, score, impression, all chiming in with the rifle. And NKT is not done yet on overpass.
Execurate kind of rolling back the years a little bit. Some of these, superstar players from the past, a little bit quiet in this first map, to be honest. So seeing a couple of frags like that come in for Execurate gives me a little bit to get hyped up about. But they're going to need to deliver on a more consistent basis, on a very consistent basis. Good news for Team NKT, though, is that Vici have scraped the bottom of the bank accounts, so this could be a reset round and allow them to more easily get towards double digits. Nice damage onto Jam Young with that HG nade to start things off. And Vici Gaming, again, seems like they're putting a premium on controlling this A side of the map. Double AWP actually coming in. NKT, that is why they have a dangerous double AWP score, a primary AWPer, or at least very, very good with the secondary over there on D13.
Yeah, I think he
was he's once again, secondary AWP behind Annihilation. But I feel like he definitely had the skills on the AWP, and he's again shown us why that is an incredibly difficult shot to hit.
Oh, well, bit of a head scratcher now for Vici Gaming. They thought that they had this one scot-free. They thought that the map was pretty much over, and to be honest, so did I. But NKT are showing some fight still is left in them. For map number 1, which is perhaps quite important given the fact that Nuke is coming up next, and it's hard-pressed to find a team that's going to beat Vici in the Asian region on Nuke. This is a much better looking round from NKT. They've got a lot of guns alive. If they can keep that, then that means that their money's going to look very good, and obviously you start to put the pieces of the puzzle together that they might be able to come back into this map, score another really nice shot with the AWP. Kaze's starting to look to make it a bit more expensive. He's only got 20 seconds here, and eventually will fall, so 2 AWPs retained, an AK there as well. That is, probably the pass score, or maybe even just a little bit better for NKT, in my opinion. out of that round. So up to 9. It's not over yet.
It's just great. Secondary all being able to score. That's one of the things that made D13 a really solid team as well, is having that Annihilation score combo on the double AWPs, and definitely not a bad thing to be bringing into NKT. Bloody hell, Excurate and score together. That is some crazy double AWP potential. Vici Gaming going back to the drawing board, taking a save, looking to chip some damage away from NKT. Obviously not more concerned with the reset potential, but concerned rather with, as the loss bonus gets reduced for NKT, and as they chip through their economy, just making their next couple of buys more difficult. If you can take away that double AWP, that will definitely help out, because at the moment, both of them seem to be connecting.
Excurate. Able to get himself another one. I'd like to really see him go off with the AWP in this series. That would make it very exciting. Particularly if you're an NKT fan. Orman might not be. He's got other ideas. But the round will still fall by the wayside for NKT, or rather for Vici, I should say. And so we're up to double digits for NKT. They make it look, again, a little bit more respectable. I wonder. I mean, 5 rounds in a row, Pilski. What's your take? At what point? I'm not going to do the max special, you know. But at what point do you start to believe?
I believe they can bring it back. I just think this might be one of those maps where the scoreline looks a little bit better than it was. I feel like Vici Gaming have had it in bag. They just need to find that right call to put it across the line. This round, by definitely not looking as convincing as Vici Gaming might have liked, having to go down to a Galil on Jam Young. Utilities already looking a little bit sparse at 1:30 and 5, 1:40. That was very nearly a spam straight through the smoke from Orman. A lot of damage onto Impression. Does pressure that B side of the map. In the meanwhile, Excurate focusing on long A. No bathrooms pressure or control here. Flash over the top of Divider for Vici Gaming. They're going to go and take that part of the map, and Zion in turn is going to burn that smoke onto Divider, but he's under a lot of pressure now.
Yeah, Zoking is a man on a mission, isn't he? He's going to clear out long, but he's not going to be able to do it well enough. Zine is watching and waiting. You talked about the pressure. Well, he answers it nicely until he gets taken down by Jamyoung, but even then, he's able to do more than his HP's worth of damage. Gets a lot of damage onto Jamyoung before he drops, and puts NKT into a position where they can still find a way to win this round. Though a double AWP retake on the A bomb site feels a little bit difficult, particularly with the position that Kaze is locking down. It now puts a lot of emphasis onto what Advent can do. He needs a double here. He's gotten the first. Can't quite look for the second, though. He's really just dancing around, buying a lot of time. And Kaze wasn't able to get much done either. So defuse will come through for NKT, and they continue to survive on map 1.
Great patience being shown there by NKT. Not only after you find the man advantage coming on that retake, but especially on those truck plants, you can be well aware that the other team is going to have to be a little bit more aggressive on average to try to close out those post plants. If it's a plant on default, that's where things like the bathrooms and the long A post plants are a lot more high percentage. But at least for that one on truck, NKT, it felt like they were quite comfortable just letting the Ts come to them, and they're rewarded for their patience. Into another half buy for Vici Gaming, though, who still have a couple of opportunities, at least 2 more gun rounds to get this one across the line, but can't be taking it for granted.
I have to say, every single one of these rounds is still dangerous for NKT. How many times we've been in a situation like this, or where Vici's been in a rough spot, and that's exactly what I was about to say, and Jamyoung hits a deagle entry, or something like that happens, and you suddenly start to see the round falling a little bit by the wayside. Impression is under a lot of pressure right now, but he has the backup from his teammates, and so it looks like NKT will get through the round despite a bit of a hiccup. Nice little surf from Advent there.
Yeah.
But you do get a little bit worried when you see Jamyoung hit that first deagle shot, and then Zoking hit another one with the Tech 9. You go, uh-oh. This could be NKT done in really unfortunate fashion.
I mean, considering the outfits, I'm not surprised to see Advent hit the surf off the wall there. Pretty sure Mac has that shirt in his closet at home, so...
He does.
At least for an Asian CS game, there's been a distinct lack of getting ecoed, which is good to see. Definitely helps us have a much more entertaining game. At least in the tactical sense, I suppose. Vici Gaming, different approach though. Progression smoke out monster. Seems like a bit of a B set play. Smoking off connector as well. Couple of tells here for NKT that this is going to be a play towards the B site, but can they defend it?
Certainly seems to have his spider sense tingling a little bit. Still has 5 bullets left, and that'll be more than enough to dispatch of Jam Young. USP comes out, but it's not going to be enough to keep Urcast alive. Impression, for some reason, is using the P250. He must have also run out of bullets on the M4A1S, but overall, a good hold from NKT.
Yeah, I mean, this is a double-edged sword of how Vici Gaming plays sometimes on this T side. You've seen it a couple of times this half already, which is they do kind of do, I don't know what you would want to call them. I used to call them suicide entries, where you're sending, the spacing is very, very large between the first into the site and the next couple of players. And often it's Zoking, who is the man who's just running in with the supportive utility. And if that player doesn't find success or gets banged out of the server really quickly, the CTs are given a lot of space to get much more comfortable. And that's where you see these kind of one-sided rounds where NKT pretty easily deal with the first couple of players, and then the last couple of Vici Gaming players are kind of like, well, we're completely locked out now.
Score's going to spot the feet. And ahead. And that'll be more than enough to get NKT through the round, even if it wasn't done already. Kaze playing a bit of a dangerous game.
Counter-terrorists win.
Getting close. 2 more for NKT. They're going to have to get them done in all of these gun rounds, though, especially if we get some plants down here for Vici Gaming. 3.4, fully maxing out that loss bonus. NKT now, I mean, slow start for a couple of the players, but if you go have a little bit of a run down the scoreboard, there is no weak link right now on this CT side. Another buy-in for Vici. Been a distinct lack of AWP on this T side. Money hasn't really allowed for it very regularly.
Bit of map control taken by NKT, but then relinquished quite quickly as they work their way back in toward the A-bomb site.
I mean, I'm looking at Urcast. He just checked short B. NKT, I'd imagine, are going to be feeling quite comfortable towards this B side of the map, so I wouldn't be surprised to see the extra player floated towards A at some point. That smoke goes way too deep for Divider.
I'm liking
So
this
I think
push
they
too.
burnt 2 smokes towards that A side of the map, and they're going to walk up long.
It's going to work as well for them, isn't it? Excure's gotten himself 1 and second. And didn't quite get the third, but of course Zion is there for the trade, and that is the bomb found by NKT. This has to be 14 up for the C2 side. There's no way Advent and Orman are able to win this round.
Oh my
No
god.
way.
That's going to help out. Ullman, he walks up with the Galil, finds that peek towards the B side of the map. Advent, he hears a lot of footsteps. Can he read the rotations effectively here? He could find a very nice timing on towards this A side of the map. NKT, though, just grouping up around the C4, playing defense.
Can't
No longer
happen,
concerned about holding the bomb sites.
Can't happen. Don't even worry about it.
You're so bold. You don't believe that 2 Galils can compete at 2-on-3. That's crazy.
Well,
That
I
was
didn't
an interesting
believe,
one.
by the way, that NKT could make it to 14, and yet they
Well,
have.
that was an interesting round because I think I honestly think they messed up their divider smoke and then threw their second divider smoke and they were like, well, we're out of smokes. We got to aggress. And then they were like, they went on a weird timing and Vici Gaming was setting up for that A-long boost. And it all kind of works out for you sometimes. This is how we end up at map point
Yeah.
for Vici Gaming, but NKT on the verge of overtime against 5 Galils and Util.
Well, I do wonder how many NKT supporters are watching along with a few nails being bitten right now, because this is way too close for comfort still for them. It's very, very losable from here. Vici Gaming have found the first entry and the second as well. Surely not after such hard work. NKT, they cannot fall at the final hurdle at the 11th hour. Urcast burns alive to a Molotov, and Vici Gaming get the bomb down on B. The weight of this entire map rests on the shoulders of Excurant and Zine, and they'll work their way forward for the retake. Zoking in the perfect spot to bring it undone. Zine falls, Excurant soon to follow. 4-on-1, just not possible. And Vici Gaming get it over the line with a 16-14. How painful that would be for NKT, and yet that is the scoreline on map number 1. It's Vici to pick up the first map. excited to see NKT and Vici play against each other, and they really did deliver a very good map. I can't take that away from these two teams, but I can take away the map victory from NKT because unfortunately they did fall short at the final hurdle. I don't know how many rounds it was to get back in a row there, but it took them a long time to even find their first round on the CT side of Overpass. But then they started to really, build it up piece by piece, piece by piece. You sort of started to think, maybe it's possible with 4 or 5 rounds to go. But then you never really think that it's possible. And then they get to 13, 16, or 14, 15, I should say. And that's where I go, look, if it's going to come unstuck anywhere, it's going to come unstuck here, isn't it? Because that would just be quintessential NKT gameplay. Do all the hard work only to have it just fall short in the end. And I feel so sorry for them because that's got to be a painful one to lose.
Yeah, no doubt. Worth mentioning as well, we almost saw the Vici Gaming special, like an 11-4 half, and then you go on to lose the game, which, I can't count how many domestic Chinese grand finals we've casted where that's been the case for some of those teams. So, yeah, a bit of pill to swallow. I think NKT perhaps a little bit too slow to start on their map pick. When they really got rolling, they look super, super competitive. I mean, all of the boys across the board really firing up, really putting in a lot of work on Overpass there. So as we head into Nuke, I'm interested to see how the rest of the series is going to go because you can't afford another slow start.
Yeah, I mean, while we talk about that, we can roll the highlights from the last map as well, Pilskin. I'd say probably the first half of it is just going to be Zoking. He was having an absolute banger of the first half here. To be honest, he was what I felt like kind of kept Vici in the game for a lot of these earlier rounds, right? They were down 4-1. There's that triple kill from him this round in particular, and then there was a couple of other rounds where he just continued to seem to find a way to get behind NKT, and it was situations where NKT were in winnable positions, and then Zoking would just come through with a bunch of kills and kind of ruin their day. So, yeah, credit to him. He obviously started the map off really, really well for Vici Gaming, but ultimately it ended up being kind of an across the board kind of an effort by committee from Vici. We did see Advent really picking himself up, Jam Young, Orman, Kaze all sort of doing the same, and it wasn't like superstar level performances from any of the other four. Obviously, still leading from the front was Zoking, but overall, it was nice to sort of see the rest of the Vici lads kind of pick things up a little bit because it did seem a little bit awkward for them from the outset, and NKT was really doing a pretty good job in the early stages. I almost wonder if maybe NKT would have got themselves, this was kind of the discussion we were going into the second half with, right? 9-6, is it really the pass score? Do you need more on the CT side, more on the T side, whatever? If they could have been able to, eke out one more round on that T side, which did look very possible, there were so many close rounds. Maybe they walk away with a map victory there. I guess obviously the fact that it was 16-14 would indicate that, but you don't know what the ripple effect is going to be like if they do, start off with an extra round in the CT side or whatever. It doesn't necessarily matter, but you know what I mean.
If they won one of those XVXs, it wouldn't have just been that one round. Like, they would have broken the CT money. As we head on to Nuke, though, it's definitely an interesting prospect. Vici's kind of been dominating teams domestically. NKT doesn't have a whole lot of reps, but they have been winning on it. So we won't count them out of the series just yet, I think.
Yeah, all right. Well, that's something to sort of mull over as we do head to another break. But on the other side of this one, it is going to be Nuke, and that is the map choice of Vici. So it is going to be a tough road ahead for NKT.
Choose nades, choose a smoke, choose a flashbang. Choose team badges to support your favourite CSGO team. Choose an ESEA Premium membership. Choose routes you know bring in wins. Choose pro video tips. Choose the fan club wars. Choose behind the scenes content. Choose good grades. Choose guns you know you can shoot right. Choose bingo. Choose the equipment you know is going to get your team the win thanks to heat maps. Choose the CSGO Hub Premium. The complete package to help you and your squad achieve all your CSGO goals.
5 years, the Lanxess Arena of Cologne has been the about competitive
You in part by Intel, Acer Predator, 1xBet, US Air Force, DHL, Monster Energy, Coinbase, and CSGO Hub powered by Coil.
Well, jumping back into the series here between NKT and Vici, it's a bit of a somber mood, at least as far as I'm concerned. The fact that NKT wasn't able to get that map win on the board does lead me to believe that we're probably looking at a 2-0 tonight. I actually haven't seen that much of NKT on Nuke, though, to be honest with you, Pilski, so maybe they have a little bit of a curveball to pull out for us here, but just looking at the stats that they've got on this one, it doesn't really seem like it's a map that they pull out all that often. It might not be one that's particularly high up in the pool for them. And we know, of course, that this is almost like undefeatable for the majority of the Asian region when you're going against a team like Vici. So that's pretty much the storyline going into this second map. If NKT can pull this one off, it's almost like they've pulled off the impossible, in my opinion.
I mean, the whole reason why Vici started adopting Nuke is to beat local Asian competition. I think it was after like their Katowice run or something like that. They kind of deduced that they needed to expand their map pool. They couldn't beat some international competition outside of, the Swiss stage best of ones, and also helps out to play a little bit wider on the map pool when you're versing a lot of these teams that just love bashing their head into the wall and playing Mirage, Dust 2, Inferno every bloody series. I was looking at the head-to-head, man, and I was like, I don't know if this is like HLTV not documenting Asian tournaments for some of the part, but I'm looking at the head-to-head on HLTV, and it says 7/9/20 was the last time these teams played an official against each other, which is an interesting one. I don't know how accurate that is, and I'm sure they probably practice each other, but...
I think they do actually practice each other. But as far as officials are concerned, I am trying to remember the last time I saw NKT and Vici playing. And it definitely hasn't been in like an IEM or a DreamHack or any of the tournaments that you normally would see covered on an HLTV. There probably are some instances in your more domestic leagues, the likes of the bigger Chinese tournaments and that kind of thing. I would have maybe expected something in like FunSpark or something like that, but I don't think Vici's actually playing in FunSpark at the moment. So maybe that is actually correct. And it's funny that you mentioned even that far back, that result in September of 2020, because that, it's the core of the roster, but it's a completely different roster here. It was BTRG, which was even then before NG Esports, which was even then before NKT.
Yeah,
you do have extra Impression and Sign in there, but it's just a completely different roster for NKT, which is BTRG back then. And I almost don't even really see those two as the same teams. Like, I feel like there was a BTRG era, and then once it got to NG Esports is where I sort of see this current iteration of NKT sort of starting in a way. Although there are still obviously similarities between BTRG and NKT. Nonetheless, though, I mean, if you want to talk about that, it was a 2-0 favoring Vici, and it was actually featuring Nuke. So, maybe there is something to be said there. Overall, though, I mean, I'm impressed by what I'm seeing from NKT. Like, I think the tenacity to stick into this series and take it to 14 against Vici, while disappointing that they do end up losing that one, is still a positive sign for NKT. If they can continue to do that, then I'm happy. Like, even if it's a 2-0, if they at least compete against Vici, that I think is a good result.
Yeah, I mean, I think, you look at the fact that both Tyloo and Vici are playing in this tournament. It's going to be a difficult run for them. If they can't take a victory over Vici, they go back and play Tyloo, who have just beaten them twice in a row over there in IEM Winter. I'd probably back them to beat Checkmate, but by that same token, the cause of some of these Mongolian teams can be pretty troublesome. You can never guarantee a win against a lot of them. And in fact, the first qualifier for IEM Fall, I think that NKT actually got knocked out by the Black Company, which is another one of these Mongolian mixes. So you really can't be guaranteeing yourself a win either. I don't think there's any super easy games for NKT here, but let's see if they can start to turn it around in this upper bracket series. I mean, no matter which way, in these top 4 tournaments that we see in Asia time and time again, going back to 2020, we casted a whole bunch of them. The reward for winning a series is you play another very, very difficult opponent. So it's just going to have to be top level form from here on out from NKT. And I don't think that slow start on Overpass was quite good enough.
No, definitely not. And let's not forget as well the implications of this for the likes of Vici and Tyloo. This tournament qualifies them for the major. And so they're wanting to both have as good of a run into that grand final as they possibly can. They don't want to have to get hung up on, did we lose a map to NKT? Did we play too close a little bit on Overpass? If you're Vici and obviously Tyloo tomorrow against Checkmate, they're going to want to have a clean run so that they can really focus on what is, in theory, the most important games for them. They should see these as formalities, and the matches between themselves are the big important ones. Either way, we do have Vici and NKT moving on to a Nuke, and the start is okay, actually, for Vici Gaming in the end. It looked like it was going to fall apart a little bit there with a nice crossfire set up by NKT, but Jam Young just pulls out a bit of brilliance and finds himself 3, and that pistol round is over as quick as it began. And that was a massive stack on ramp from NKT. So I do wonder if they have been doing a little bit of VOD preparation.
Yeah, I mean, what was that, like a 15, 20-second round? Pretty quick one to start things off on the T side. And Vici Gaming, oh boy, you're in for a treat if you like to see some great T-side Nuke plays, because this team will just run circles around you on the T-side of this map if you cannot stand up to the task. And already we're seeing just this up-tempo gameplay. They're zooming around the map, straight down secret. We see them do very quick vent drops, very fast uppers hits. So NKT will need to be on top of things and ready for some of those. Let's pick from Urcast on Outers. He's going to take a gun already off Vici Gaming and start to throw caution to the wind here. But Vici Gaming not feeling too contested. Have got that player down in secret. They're still holding on to lobby control. And they're going to start to try and see if they can suss out some gaps in the defense.
Dualies for impression. Didn't really see as many dualies as we might have expected, actually, when we were watching the Oceania IEM fall.
Mostly reserved to pistol rounds.
Yeah. So I think that's probably one of the changes that hasn't really made the impact. And for A1S1, certainly a big deal. And dropping the nades, definitely as well. But the dualies, feels like it's a bit of a meh kind of a thing. If you like the dualies, it's good. If not, you're probably not going to buy the dualies anyway. This round, though, is starting to get a little bit problematic for Vici Gaming. Orman does well to control that spray onto Zion and also catches score out as well. So impression with the dualies is actually not going to be able to have the impact he would have wanted to, given the fact that Vici has gone down toward B. He's going to pick the pace up, though, with a MAC-10. He knows that both of these players are tagged up a little bit. If he can catch one-on-ones while the bomb is being planted, there was a chance. But he didn't have any head armor. And NKT will drop the second round, though they did some damage.
Am I reading this correctly? Are Tylo and Vici dead even on RMR points?
I believe that's the case, yeah. Or at least close enough that that grand final is actually going to make a difference. It basically decides, well, maybe it's not the grand final, but the placement, the result of this tournament actually decides which one goes to the major, yes.
Yeah, and I don't think it's going to matter for NKT either way.
No. NKT and Checkmate both can't. It's the same situation as what we had in Oceania.
That's spicy, man.
Yeah.
Like, it's great to be able to cover this event as well because, you know, we covered a lot of those events where some of those RMR points were a thing and you were, really looking forward towards that major. So to see them actually finally duke it out for a spot that they were kind of gunning for a large portion of 2020 is going to be very, very entertaining indeed.
You know what's going to happen, though? Vici's going to win, and they're not going to get their visa, and then Tylu's going to go. That's what I reckon is going to happen.
Yep.
For some reason.
Might be right.
Yeah.
Already seen that at Blast, haven't we?
Yeah, well, Vici is going to make their way onto the A bomb site relatively uncontested. NKT once again went for the ramp room stack. But not going to be as successful this time as it was in the pistol. And to be fair, even then, in the pistol, it wasn't super successful.
Dude, I almost feel like for these Chinese teams, like the best of 3 with the visa office is often more difficult than the actual tournament.
It's true. It's true. Yeah, I mean, I think it's probably even more difficult in the case of Vici Gaming when they have Kaze in the mix as well, obviously from Malaysia.
True.
So not only is it dealing with the Chinese immigration system and visa system and offices and whatever that may be, but it's also the whole Malaysia side of things too.
Imagine sending NKT to a tournament, dude.
Yeah, that would be a nightmare. But I don't think they're going to have to worry about it, at least for the major. So
whoever has to organise that, by the way, I mean, I applaud you. You need a raise if that ever ends up being a thing.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Well, 4 alive there for Vici Gaming. Off to a very quick 3-0 start. Nothing to really talk about in that anti-eco, so we'll kind of breeze past it as we head into our first gun round here in round number 4. AWP rolls straight out for Excurate. Pretty good utility across the board. Zion is rocking the A4. Couple of players really not wanting to switch off. Interesting.
It is interesting. Excurate is going to start things off nicely, and there's a headshot onto Orman as well. So Vici Gaming actually only have the 4 players to fight with in this round, and one of them is severely damaged. See a wrap coming through from Orman to Warehouse, but he's not going to kind of push the issue all that much. Zion, in the meanwhile, has also killed Advent. So this round's kind of just falling apart a little bit for Vici Gaming. They've tried to set something up, but they haven't even really been able to get into position to play the round out before they've lost a couple of players.
It's got to be Jam Young here to have the impact. If Orman could find a pick, that would have definitely helped out, but at least he's created space for Kaze to trade him out, who will join up with Jam Young down into lowers. Vent rotation not being held by Jam Young. Instead, he's trying to dig his heels into windows. He's got a lot of utility. to try to facilitate this plant going down. And for the most part, NKT committed to uppers. It's only Score who's really watching the cross, but that's all that's needed, apparently. That's a great timing to be hitting.
Yeah, well, Kaze is at least going to be given the bomb plant. But a 1-on-4 for the post plant? Well, I don't know. Kaze, he's a bit of a superstar, but in this situation, it's going to be incredibly tough. AK in hand, he works his way up to control room, does dispatch of the first. Pieces of the puzzle starting to come together for Kaze. Pops the flash down, defuse is on, but it's a full 10-second defuse, so he's got time to work with. But I think time has run out. He did a little bit of damage on the way out for Vici Gaming, but in the end, NKT will win their gun round and get themselves a nice big number 1 on the scoreboard, which, you know, it doesn't come too late, definitely not. And they're in with a chance of starting off the half in a pretty good fashion.
Yeah. What to do in this buy, though. Vici Gaming, Jam Young was quite a bit poorer than the rest of the boys, so he's only got a Deagle to work with in this round. But apart from that, not too much you can complain about. With only 2 players surviving for NKT, money is still fragile. It's reset potential again. Vici Gaming staple seems to be every time very quick out of smokes. And they're just gunning it straight down secret. Throwing caution to the wind, just a wolf pack sort of mentality here. Zion scrambles down the vents and he's going to just dump you till try to get himself in a good enough position, and you can't believe he's gotten away with 1 there.
He almost gets caught on the top of the ladder, one of his teammates blocking it, but they do get out of there quick enough. And NKT will survive with 5. Vici Gaming haven't managed to make any inroads into the B bomb site just yet either, but Jam Young certainly is waiting to do so. Smoke's going to go down. They haven't spammed the catwalk, and so that is going to keep Score relatively healthy for now. He'll just tuck himself into the corner. Jam Young checking, Jam Young looking, but he did not spot Score. And in the meanwhile, Urcast has managed to find one onto Orman as well. So the T side of Nuke for Vici Gaming isn't quite going to plan just yet.
No, it's good to see some pushback early on for NKT. Slower start on the CT side of Overpass, but not to be the case here for Nuke. And there's definitely still some fight in these lads. They took it right down to the wire. I dare say if they made it into OT in that last map, then we would have had something to talk about. No guarantees Vici were going to close that one out, but they got it just across the line with the Galil Force buy. And NKT, not only do they secure 2 on the trot, but with 5 alive, and I believe it was 4 alive in that last round as well. Oh no, it was only 2, right?
Yeah, it was 2.
But their money's still pretty good. What I'm getting at is money's good. They're going into an anti-eco. Money's probably going to get even better. And earlier on in this CT half, that's a very good sign.
As long as they get through this round pretty comfortably, which you'd think they should. There's only the 1 flash for Vici Gaming, and they only have 1 upgraded pistol as well, so really not a whole lot to work with. And to be honest, the NKT lads, they're looking pretty sharp here on Nuke. Advent not able to get the better of Zion, who just does a 180. Very nice round for NKT.
Zooming down the vent ladder, spinning around in circles. Zion's feeling warmed up. That's always a very good sign.
Good sign for Zion.
Zion puns, am I right? Hashtag Zion puns. That's going to be trending for sure.
Yep.
All right, time out for Vici. Thank God, because that was cringe. I'm going to be honest. I'm sorry, chat. What does Vici Gaming want to put together here? They could have gotten an AWP last gun round, because you had a couple of players sitting at around 6k, but not to be the case this time around.
Do they often take the AWP on the T side, though? I feel like if I throw my mind back, I don't really think Vici's the team that tends to lean towards the AWP on the T side.
I think Nuke they do.
That often?
Because I remember Kaze opening door and picking Annex and stuff like that quite often. But there are definitely rounds where you'd want Kaze on the rifle. Sorry, not rounds. Maps where you want Kaze on the rifle. Because there's plenty of AWPers that have a bit more of a defensive playstyle and they sit back a little bit. But Kaze is definitely one of those players who is not only a proficient rifler, but he's definitely able to hit flip a switch where he can start just going in there into the trenches and getting some entry work done with the rifle, and he's quite difficult to deal with.
Yeah, Zoking and Kaze, the Smash Bros on the T side sometimes for Vici.
For sure, and it gives them a bit of a different style as well. You know, when you get that different player, you change one player's kind of play style in a whole team, and it can give the team a completely different look and allow them to kind of make some problems for whoever their opponent is. Much slower kind of pace this time for Vici Gaming, though. None of those very, very fast smokes being committed to or anything. Instead, it's actually the Windows smoke as well as the Annex smoke here. As that Windows smoke hit, doesn't matter. We're going to get an upper split.
Zion, tucked behind the back vent, is going to be put on fire. Does not actually have a smoke to put it out with, and so he's going to be forced out into the open. An easy kill for Advent, but the rest of the trades are coming through for NKT. They played that bait and switch quite nicely. Kaze, lucky to be alive at this point in time, but he's not expecting Excurate. Just sitting on the ladder with a P250, and gets his head blasted off.
I legitimately think that Excurate just no-scoped two people up and down the vents and got a kill with the P250. Like, I know that it's probably not likely we're going to get to see a replay of that, but that is pretty absurd.
Yeah, I don't know what happened there.
I mean, that's a classic Excurate round, though.
You'll take it, though. You'll take it.
Yeah.
NKT up to 4-3. I mean, they've got the round advantage now, and money's actually building up really nicely on the CT side, so
For sure.
maybe we've underestimated NKT in this series. I think that much is already fair to say, but perhaps also on this map.
I think for NKT, for me now, it's a case of obviously the potential's there, but I just want to see them win. Just need to see some map wins, some series wins.
Impression. Holding nicely. Isn't really going to have too much that he needs to do in this round. Eventually, the rest of the lads will clean house. NKT, another solid round on the CT side. I don't think there's too much worth mentioning there, to be honest. Vici just tries to send it into the A bomb site. NKT do what they need to do.
Yeah.
It's an anti-pistol, so
I mean, that's another one of these cases. I was talking about it a little bit on Overpass with the suicide entries and whatnot, where it's like, when you do have a team like Vici Gaming who has some of these set plays that are quite utility heavy, the spacing is not going to be ideal. And if you have the CTs playing a little bit more aggressive and trying to take the fights to the choke points, then you might get shut out of the rounds. And I think that's another one of those cases where Impression inside Heart is making their life quite difficult. Very quick smokes off the bat once again for Vici Gaming, burning a lot of utility early on. Urkas trying to one-way over the smoke and be disruptive, but I think Vici are trying to hit an uppers timing this round.
Impression not able to do too much, forced away by the flashes, and this time Vici Gaming have at least managed to make some inroads into the A site. This is better than what we've seen from them so far, but they haven't yet got the bomb down. And we're going to start to look towards NKT for their prowess on the retake here. Score is in an awkward spot. Doesn't want to go walking into lobby when there's multiple players watching from different angles already, though the A retake isn't quite working out. And Score isn't going to be able to do anything in this round. The rest of the action happened on the site as NKT tried to filter in there. And so Vici do bounce back pretty quickly. Doesn't get out of hand.
Still money in the bank for NKT to keep rolling along, though. Nice exit from Score. Vici Gaming, this is what they do so well on T-side and Nuke, just mixing up with the timings. That round was, you know, one of those outside smokes where previously they've been gunning it straight through outside, going straight down secret. How much they're committing to that is quite ambiguous and quite difficult to work out on the CT side, which means you need to be rotating accordingly. But the alternative is they throw those outside smokes where you're used to be conditioning to rotate off, be a little bit out of position, and then they get the very sharp timing straight in towards uppers, and it kind of caught NKT a little with their pants down.
Oh, Excurate had a chance there. And he might get another one here as well, depending on how bold Zoking is feeling. Perhaps bites off a little bit more than he could chew.
Yeah. He was running into the other team's spawn almost, trying to speed run to the other team's spawn on Overpass, maybe not working out this time. But Kaze, that's, like I said, a classic AWP duel that's been going back many years in Asian CS. It's Kaze and Excurate, and Kaze once again coming out on top. Puts things back into a 4-on-4. Now you're going to get the boost. You were asking about the T-side AWP. We're seeing it come to fruition here.
Oh, Gas is going to duck his head down at the right time, but he might pop it back up and spots a few. It's good information. Luckily, doesn't get it blasted off to gather it. Bomb plant does go down if Vici can get their way into this B bomb site, but of course, it's going to be a little bit more difficult than it has been in the last couple to get into B because there's still 2 players there. I mean, you've got one starting to float back up to ramp, but still.
Well, you got the shuffle from NKT after losing that lowers control into lobby, trading places with the T's. Ormond's taking space to go and push straight into Heaven. So Vici going to try to pinch uppers from Annex and Heaven.
Ormond's in a great spot. So wants the player out in Hut. It's still going to be difficult for Vici to get the bomb plant down with all the angles that NKT are holding. Impression does eventually get traded down by Ormond, but now Vici's going to have to scramble. They've got 14 seconds to get that bomb, and Zion is already pressuring into the site. The retake begins before the bomb plant has even occurred. Now we're back to 2-on-2. Jamyoung drops off the top of Hut, and Kaze covers off nicely. Urcast is done so. Jamyoung's position known by Zion. He's down to 1 shot though. 1 HP. Kaze still holding on to it with the AWP, but information looks like it's gone across that the pistol now does come out. Zion needs a double headshot. Well, actually, he only needed 1, but
if he wasn't so low there, I back him to close that clutch. That was such cerebral play from Zion. He faked the death cam and then he waited for Kaze to be concerned about the Hut wrap. And he found a nice timing there, but unfortunately he's too low for it to matter, so Vici's going to pick up that round. Again, we have a opening half where things are quite back and forth, but NKT, they have really been drowning their economy from these double orbs, so need to find some success with them or they might be reset.
a nice opener for Zoking, but very quickly brought back. Score is going to be challenged by a jumping Advent with a MAC-10. And Zoking actually does end up wrapping around behind, down through the B bomb site. The MAC-10 being put to good use by Ormond now. Guns are being chucked across all over the place at the moment. Vici's making it work.
Yep, again. It's a completely different looking round, but Vici Gaming, again, they're just showing how comfortable they are on T-side nuke. Just the pace they're setting. You saw like a massively quick play straight through outers. Down the very quick vent drop. Impression, able to hold on to the AWP, so that's something to talk about. Should be pistols bought around the AWP. But like I was saying for Vici Gaming, you had a quick vent drop, you had a quick play through outers, and a ramp play as well, all happening simultaneously. It's just too much for your brain to process on that CT side sometimes.
What do you do here? Give the AWP over to Excurate. It seems like that was what I was going to bring up. Does Impression keep it because he had the armor, or does Excurate grab it? Glass cannon, whatever, I don't know. But in the end, it is Excurate. He'll take the AWP through for NKT. Makes a lot of sense, obviously. Eagle spam from Urcast is not going to quite find its mark, and Vici Gaming might just try to neutralize the AWP as much as possible by going down to the B bomb site where, let's be real, chances of the AWP being down here this quickly, pretty low. Plant early for Vici, and that's awkward for NKT. It's going to take a long time for them to hustle down to the B side, and they don't even have a defuse kit, Pilski, so chances of making this one happen are pretty slim.
Yeah, it's not coming together really. The lurking AWP on outside. Hello. Kaze spotted out Excurate there and doesn't seem interested in giving him an angle or a fight. Kaze
It could be a second AWP given over.
Yeah, what? I don't know what Kaze's thinking there. I don't think that must have been a hell of a timing, because you see the riflers so quick to retake Secret, and actually they will take that AWP back away from the CT side, but Kaze just did not seem like he was ready for that possibility.
That was, I imagine being scored in that situation. You just see the head pop up and then go back down, and then you're dead.
That's soaking.
What are you going to do?
Can't do anything. It's too fast.
Fast and
Vici
Furious.
Gaming. 7-5 lead here. Fast and furious is a good way to describe them on this T side when they put their mind to it.
It is reminding me a little bit of Overpass, though, isn't it? Like, NKT off to a reasonable start. It looks like they're challenging in the first 7 to 8 rounds, but as we start to stretch a little bit deeper into the half, it seems like Vici Gaming are coming out ahead on a more consistent basis, and we might still end up being here with a one-sided T side.
Dude, again, 15 seconds into the round, they just knife out through outers into lower. No contest. You've got a player. Where is Allman? He's sitting outside the vent or on top. He's on top of Annex. Dropped down from Silo, I guess. And this is where NKT, like, they just have to react to what's going on very quickly and make sure that they're committing the appropriate rotations down, because they don't know how many Ts are in lower right now. It could be 1, could be 4. So they've just left Urkas down there. Spirit's found Kaze, progression smoke to try to set up the plant, and Zoking is just turret, spinning on all angles right now.
Look at where Orman is as
acquiring
well.
the targets.
Like, Orman is just walking around behind. He gets a 1v onto Execure, and he might get some more as well. Zion goes down. I mean, he's not expecting impression still, but Orman's done his job, that's for sure. Round's over.
Yeah, I mean, this is what I was talking about. You might have thought that I was like, it was just a turn of phrase when I was saying Vici Gaming in Asia look like they run circles around the other teams. But I meant literally, like, this is what you're seeing from Vici Gaming. Just a step ahead, individuals fighting gaps in the defense and reading things appropriately. You've got very, very quick outers plays, very quick vent drops, timings on upper. It's incredibly hard to play against, I'd imagine.
Certainly looks that way. 8-5 scoreline now. Money's a bit awkward for NKT. Probably can't afford to buy through here, though, so that is at least one benefit. And they've got a double AWP. So they can fight for the last couple of rounds here in the half, but you know, it still feels like this half is kind of on the teetering point, doesn't it, right? If NKT wins this round, they can still come back, make it 8-7, and that's not so bad, but there's just as much of a chance that Vici turns this into a 10-5, and what a difference 2 rounds feels like it can make.
No doubt. Oh, Urkas this time. Felt like he had the better of Allman. It's such a messy duel for him to be winning. Drops down to 17 HP, but at least he's taken it. Now you get this progression down lower through Secret as well from Zoking. Knows that Urkas is low, going to bide his time behind the smoke. Extra looking for a pick on outside, but he's missed the timing onto Zoking. And in the meanwhile, Vici Gaming biding their time into lobby. They may consider the walk down ramp up with that Secret player. Jam Young potentially was thinking about controlling rotates there through vents, but he had the C4.
Ooh. That's a bit of timing for Zoking. Just creeps around the corner as Score pops his head up with the AWP. And this could be really unfortunate for Score. He's not going to be able to spot Zoking coming from that angle. And once again, Vici, they just, as you say, continue to run rings around their opponents. Urkas is able to answer. And this round looking much better for NKT at the very least. But there was a moment of worry for them, I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, if Impression does a multi-frag there, that round falls apart. I really like what Vici was doing. To have that one player probing lower, he gets a pick. I think teams worse than NKT would probably start to panic rotate at that point. But it's a good thing that Impression kept himself in position, was able to punish that creep into upper. But if just one of those players finds the right timing or finds the trade, that round definitely gets a little bit sticky.
Urkas' Zine start off nicely. Starting to see the half get salvaged a little bit by NKT. Still, Zoking has something to say about it. Execute pulls his Deagle out, but this is a dangerous game to be playing with a player like Zoking. Kaze was there as well to help out, and all of a sudden, we're back to a 3-on-3, and Zoking is still up to his shenanigans. Impressions left a little bit of room there for Zoking to creep his way into Z Connector. And I tell you who won't be happy about that. It's going to be Score in just a second, who will lose his life. And all of a sudden, it's Impression that's left solo. It's the minute details for Vici that seem to be getting them over the line. And unfortunately for NKT, despite such a good start, the round seems to be out of their hands. Impression has to do it alone. We'll get a bit of a freebie there onto Orman.
Bomb's down and low up. He's found himself a Molotov, but he's also dropped into a Molotov. Kaze's going to finish him off, and Vici, that's a great round of recovery from them that will bring them a 9-6 lead heading into the half.
In messing around, they've got a bomb plant down, they've got a pick, and they've got Advent down to 10 HP.
Yeah, very difficult to get back into the round from this point. Retake flashes will definitely help out if they're placed well for Advent, but not really connecting on too many of the players. You're starting to see the retake come in from Heaven and finding some space here, but that's where the Glocks at the close range do have the advantage, and it's all on Advent. He was actually late towards Annex side. Not sure where he's throwing those retake flashes from, but I don't think he's going to have too many issues in this round. Or rather, NKT won't have too many issues in this round. It's going to drive by him with the Glock. That's going to be 7 on the board for NKT. Maybe a step better than what we saw in that last half, but is it going to be good enough?
Well, I think a lot of that is going to come down to what they'll be able to do here in the second round. Vici Gaming could well just throw another spanner in the works, and that might be a bit too much to come back from for NKT. We'll see, though.
That forced buy-in. Whole bunch of pistols and armor. You got that scout for Orman rather than Kaze this time around. Kaze holding on to some extra cash to bring into that round number 4 buy. Make sure he can get himself an orb. Speaking of the man, down in towards lowers here. Definitely going to be contested by a couple of players. Just wanted to find a deagle headshot and fall off the line. Fall back on that smoke to buy time for the rotates, but he's not even going to be given the opportunity to do it. Taken out of the equation early on. NKT not committing down into lower. They know that getting that pick is enough to cause a bit of a ripple effect in the rotations, and they're going to try to take duels elsewhere, and they're rewarded for it. Great shooting from Impression on the Galil.
The NKT can do what they failed to do in the first map, and that is make a comeback happen and obviously get the better of Vici here on Nuke. It seemed a far-fetched thing going into the map. You know, we look at the statistics, we know a lot about Vici's Nuke, and we pretty much just said, like, if NKT wins on map 2, that would be an absolute miracle. But it's starting to feel more realistic. You know, the more that we're watching, I thought that their first half was okay. It was not too bad.
Oh, you're getting in Jinx territory, mate.
T-side's starting to get a little bit okay.
You just don't stop.
They're getting into the B bomb site, getting the bomb plant down. Anti-eco doesn't look too bad. Starting to come together.
Oh, man. Yeah, Vici Gaming. Gotta let that one go. They picked up the scout as well, so that's an extra little bit of weaponry. Could get the pistol dropped over to another one of these players, and yeah, it's better than running into a round with the full USPs. That's for sure. Jamiak's still in the middle of the map. This man needs to try to get outside of danger territory, but I feel a little bit better now that I see him walking up onto the roof of lobby. Oh, this is a dirty angle from Jam Young. I remember getting killed in an official on this line and just being absolutely livid. I think it was a CT who was there as well. And I was coming back up towards Silo or something like that. And it was very, very early on in the round. Like, I think it was literally like 15 seconds in the round. Man had pushed hut and walked up the ladder or something like that. But, you know, that's low-level OCECS. This is a far cry from that. Two
Indeed.
of the better teams in the Asian region going head-to-head. It's a very close affair.
You're right. It's starting to get invested. It's not exactly the most difficult round still for NKT, but the fact that Vici saves a couple of guns through makes them a bit more confident that they have, you know, that extra 10% chance in this round.
Yeah, even just a better chance at damage, really. Never hurts, even on the CT side, to just chip that economy down, make things easier for yourself. Hello. Little foot showing. Zoking's got cankles on him. Poking through the vent.
Yeah, that's a little bit unfortunate for him. It's going to give Zion a pretty easy double kill in the end. There's no sense of a trade from Orman. He's just a bit too late, and he only has a USB, but Kaze has a bit more than that. Scout in hand, and Jam Young finds another one with the Deagle. Oh, dangerous times for NKT. They're still headed towards the A bomb site. Looks like the bomb will drop down to B, though. That seems to be a bit of a better option for me. Bit safer to get that bomb plant down, leaving score up on A as well. I wonder what the timing looks like, though, for maybe Orman to creep back down that that vent. Completely cleared out A.
No doubt.
Kaze spots the head, and Orman just doesn't quite get the timing there on to score. But Kaze, I mean, he's in with a chance here, right? Scores on 41 HP. If he finds the angle, well, having now lost Jam Young makes the life a little bit more difficult.
Yeah, Galil picked up. Might throw that over to one of the boys in the next round, but not going to be allowed to. Score's going to take him out of the equation, but... Oh, it doesn't actually end up going off. I was wondering if he was far enough from the bomb to survive there in terms of the radius, but I won't get the answer to my question. Round number 19, NKT do take a lot of economic damage off the back of those saved weaponry, so that's why not worth it going for those retakes sometimes. In towards round number 2 after the force buy, if the initial round doesn't go well for you, just saving those guns over can end up having a consequence. You see a couple plays on NKT looking a little poorer here. Vici Gaming into their first gun round, a lot of utility dumped early round. Try to prevent any quick plays into upper. Aggression straight into radio room in the first gun round for Vici Gaming. They're not playing around.
No, Kaze wants to take matters into his own hands, I'd imagine. He's got Jam Young there as well to back him up. This is a very dangerous duo to be going up against, and Urcast is going to find out exactly why. Zion will also follow suit, and that has gone about as good as it can for Vici Gaming.
My God, not the start to the round you were looking for. 1 minute 10, you're sitting in lobby thinking about, how's this mid to late round going to go for us? Man, I wonder what's the call we're looking for. You just lose 2 players like that, blink of an eye. Pression trying to recover things on the outside. He's got a couple of friends to help him out. Allman spots those players out, but on a headshot line, you could just spam away with this new A1S. Bullet spread is absolutely nothing. Made Allman's shots look quite easy for him.
Well, not going to be able to get too much done there, and that's a very nice gun round for Vici to win. Really helps the economy, 4 guns alive, and that's exactly what you need at the start of your half, particularly after losing the pistol.
Yeah, I mean, and that economic damage now, it comes to be quite relevant. 1 or 2 of those players looking pretty poor, a couple of guns have to be dropped over for NKT, and effectively, now they don't have too much money to work with across the board. Everyone's sitting at around 1k or under. So good job from Vici Gaming. Setting the pace early with that aggression. See how they play now. You're getting at Kaze very aggressive in heart. Vici Gaming super unafraid of just taking these early duels.
Oh, and Kaze almost gets caught on the windowsill or doorsill, I suppose, as he tries to jump out of hut, but he does at least get out okay.
Oh, this is just huge. Vici Gaming just bullying NKT, not letting them play their game at all. AWP going on the line, and then a rifler ready to play accordingly. Spam through the smoke from Zoking. Last time around it was Jam Young to find the pick, who is now trying to just delay at ramp. He's well aware that NKT have taken this part of the map.
And this shouldn't be a round that Vici Gaming is feeling all that bothered by at the moment. Got 2 players down on B, the other guys are up on A or sort of watching outer. Orman could be in a sticky situation if timing gets the better of him. Urcast is sort of just chilling at the moment, but it looks like Orman has this one covered pretty comfortably and will get the better of Urcast. NKT now unsure as to what they can do because they've sort of been corralled into the Z connector, go up to heaven, but you'll have to deal with Orman first, and of course that's a lot of information for Vici Gaming, and Kaze is just going to take a look down. It's literally shooting fish in a barrel.
I mean, they talk about like a 30-degree window in terms of the flicks, but you're definitely eliminating the majority of those degrees when it's just a square and it's just shooting the square. Okay.
Extra
Jam Young
banged out.
I mean, a bit more of a rectangle with that ramp opening, but still pretty easy for him to convert that shot. Been great to watch Vici Gaming these first couple of gun rounds on the CT side. They are aggressive. They're looking to take early momentum in this half. And if you step into NKT's shoes for a second, you know, this is going to be quite troublesome. You know, you've seen this aggression on the CT side early on. You're trying to get your mid-round working for yourselves. Think about how you might want to adapt. And now, all of a sudden, you're playing catch-up to Vici Gaming.
Unless you pull off a round like this. Decent start from score. Kaze with the AWP, though, is able to lock down outer, and NKT can't really make use of that area of the map.
Have you been watching any of the Kaze streams, by the way?
Yeah, I tune in every now and then.
Like, whenever Kaze makes a big play now, all I can think is that he's just laughing. Because that's what he does on his stream. He gets like 5Ks, like the sickest kills you've ever seen, and he's just laughing. He's just giggling.
It's too easy for the man, isn't it?
Everyone's just reacting to like how sick his individual skill is. And
Yeah.
now I just think in officials he probably just does the same thing.
I think he's done a pretty good job of sort of starting to build that brand up a little bit. You know, I see him streaming a lot. He gets a decent amount of viewership. He's posting on YouTube every now and then as well, if you didn't know. So that's good. That's good. From someone who, you know, didn't really have that much of a social media presence at all, especially. And Urkas is not going to get away with much when Kaze is watching. This could be awkward though for Mr. Jam Young. There's a few more players than he might have expected rolling around that corner, and Kaze now is the one that has the job to do. He's been chased into outer. I don't know that NKT can win the round from here. They'd really have to move quickly into the A bomb site, and these entries will have to be perfect, and, well, unfortunately they're not. But it's still a costly round for Vici.
12-9. Good news for Vici is they've had a couple of clean gun rounds in a row, so the economic damage inflicted by NKT, while not irrelevant, is not going to trouble them in the short term. Now NKT, this is what I was talking about. First couple of gun rounds, you've seen aggression time and time again for Vici Gaming. They're going to take a timeout and have a bit of a chat about what's going on. It can be way too easy as an in-game leader on this T side when the other team's aggressing on you to tunnel vision on that, to turtle up and try to eliminate risk. But, you know, really you need to be able to find a balanced solution that isn't just sort of turtling and digging your heels in. Because there's no guarantee that Vici isn't just going to go to a more standard setup from here.
Money hasn't really ballooned out too egregiously on that CT side. So NKT, if they're able to put a couple of rounds in a row together, they can very quickly equalize that scoreline. This would have been a great start if Orman would have dropped there. When it's already not so
almost
bad.
taking Orman out of the equation himself there. Or was I misseeing?
I don't know, but maybe you're right. I mean, 3 HP for Orman. He is lucky to be alive, whichever direction it came from.
Aren't we all? Aren't we all, Jordan?
Yep.
It's lucky to be here watching some Asian CS again.
I thank my lucky stars every time I get to watch Asian CS, to be honest, because they the opportunities come less and less these days.
For sure. Got some L smokes on outside. Score going to be sent to probe a little bit. Not helping him out, really, that he's getting flashed by his teammate. But the rest of NKT very heavily set up in lobby. Doesn't even look like you're going to get the lurk on outside. No secret pressure, no creep through to Annex. And Vici Gaming aggressing on lobby after seeing those outside smokes. This might have been a great heads-up play for NKT.
Oh, once again, it's the double stack into radio, but it hasn't quite worked out. Now Jam Young has a bit of work to do. He's got to fall. It's a too dangerous spot to stay in, and now Advent has to hold from the site itself. He gets the headshot onto Impression, but not the kill, of course. It's the Emperor A1S. Jam Young drops down off the rafters, cleans up Urkas, and Impression can just about get the bomb plant down, but it's now a 2-on-1 for score to finish off Orman, 3 HP. He's going to be the one that will have to break through that smoke, but he might be the difference maker. Gets the timing perfect, and a couple of bullets sent in the direction of the body as well to let NKT know exactly what's up.
Not sure whose read that was, whether that was Impression or maybe MYM in the coach, but it felt like NKT, a little bit of a read, a little bit of a counter strat there. They've already seen the tendency from Vici Gaming to be a little bit aggressive. And that round, like I said, they throw the L smokes on outers and not a single person intended to use them. They're all sitting in lobby. They're all holding angles, waiting for that aggression out of Vici. And it almost went well enough for them to win the round. But that's where Jam Young in the XVX, very switched on, always good at making the right play at the right time. And he's able to dig deep, get Vici out of what actually started off as a pretty good read from NKT and a pretty rough situation for the CT side. Now the half buy in here for NKT. Gonna give things another crack.
Well, Zoking and Advent seem perfectly poised to deal with what NKT is throwing at them.
So good to see Zoking in this form, man. Remember there was periods where we were like, Zoking on Vici might not even be for the best, but I think we're very long way away from that now.
Kaze dropping score is going to make the situation look even better for Vici. Jam Young wasn't quite expecting that one. Knife
That
in
was
hand.
his smoke.
Well, an AK-4 cast. And an entryway into the B bomb site now as well. Maybe Urcast can bang a couple of heads off. But he's only got 40 seconds left to do it with. No head armor either. It's going to mean that that M4 might as well be an AK. It's also going to be the one that has to plant the bomb, so AK is not going to be put to good use here. In the end, maybe I lie. He does get one. X-Hero at Tech 9 can't really lock it down. It would have been a really tough ask. 14-9. Vici step one. Well, put 1 foot closer, and they're only a couple away.
Getting to this kind of scoreline again where it's going to take a bit of a comeback for NKT. They showed the tenacity to be able to do it over on an overpass. That was on the CT side though, and at the moment, I mean, they've had a good read post-tack pause once, but for the most part, it has felt a little bit like NKT have been behind the 8 ball, not only on their CT side, a little bit, but more so on this T side. How's this round going to be looking? Seems like NKT want to hit this very quick timing into upper. Initial duels not going too badly. Zoking just diving straight through the smoke, but nicely punished, and that's going to give NKT this site. But they're taking their time. They're not rushing the plant or anything, Jordan.
Yeah, don't mind that, to be honest. Just giving Vici a little bit of pause for thought. Orman's wondering what's going on outer. Is there someone creeping in my direction? Kaze is now mollied off. Jam Young still down on B. He actually does catch the timing on to score. Brings it back to the 3-on-3, but his position now known. Kaze's obvious as well. You're always expecting someone to come from heaven, and with the AWP, let's see what Kaze can do. I feel like Orman's the X factor, but he's going to have to be quick. He's worked his way all the way back through T-Spawn and has managed to get behind X-Curate. That is what Vici is waiting for. He spotted one out, but didn't progress forward through Squeaky. Jamie, what is that? What is that turn? And he might just get the spam through onto Urcast. It's not enough anyway. The time would have run down, but what was that turn? And I can't believe he actually gets away with that headshot from the
Fadeaway
USP as well.
headshot,
That
dude.
is just BS.
Yeah. Yeah, no doubt. NKT, though, that's a bit better for them. They find a nice timing when there's only 2 players in upper. They get the entries that they need. After seeing Zoking just unhinged, dive straight through that annex smoke, they were a little bit nervous about planting, but once they got into the post-plant, although things got a little bit spicy for a moment, they secured it. Now into the double digits, and within touching distance of resetting that Vici Gaming economy. In fact, both teams quite low on the money, which when you're so close to match point here, Vici Gaming is concerning for the T's.
Not as much success early in the round this time for NKT.
Well, one thing they do have going for them is that Vici have burnt through a lot of this utility early round, and they don't have these super aggressive positions that you've seen in some of these other rounds. So NKT going to be allowed to get a little bit more space. Out come the L smokes yet again. Score got a Molotov secret, but it doesn't really seem like NKT care too much about this outside control, really. Again, it's just Score throwing that utility and then just backing away back towards lobby.
It looks like it's going to be again another trophy push from Vici Gaming. And again, it doesn't quite work out. Expected by impression. Kaze didn't hit the shot. Zoking now takes the opportunity and gets a spray onto a couple. But Advent's position, not known, still well handled by impression. And that round, oh man, I think NKT's getting through that one by the skin of their teeth, because there was really a couple of moments where Vici could find some kills.
Hold on. I've got my eye on Jam Young. He's still in ramp here. A lot of players heading toward him.
Yeah, he's
just
going to double down.
up.
Impression, Urquhart score. They're all falling. Jam Young might have done it himself. Puts the smoke down in ramp and just fades away. Happy to play the 2-on-1. You called it, Pussy.
Ballman, I think he's behind the other player as well. He's on top of Hart. This should be an easy kill for him. Science got inside the smoke, but Orman's going to take him out. And that is a round that NKT should never be losing. Oh, boy.
Yeah, that's another tilter, isn't it? And it's just another one that you can put in the back pocket for NKT, isn't it? You know, they lost 16-14 on Overpass. It looks like it's going to be a close loss here on Nuke as well.
They've got a good read. Like, you can see, they're throwing this outside smoke. They know that Vici Gaming is going for the lobby crunch every time. They're ready for it. They're set up for it. They're sitting in lobby, guns in hands, holding angles, and they ended up in a 4-on-2. Both of those scenarios, they've been ready for the aggression, but they're just not putting the rounds away, mate. Someone's done the demo work. Someone's done the anti-strat. Game plan is sound, but they're just not winning the post plants. Once we get towards the mid to late round, we're making some misplays. Unfortunately, see a lot of tack timeouts come out here. NKT, you may as well use them because you don't get any more once you lose the series. I'll tell you that.
Well, maybe in the lower bracket.
True. We'll give them a couple there. I don't know if they're going to need to use as many of them in the lower bracket. Yet to be seen what kind of form Checkmate's in.
Yeah, I mean, that's the interesting thing, isn't it? Because you say that, but they actually lost to Checkmate in the closed qualifier and then got a forfeit win because Checkmate had some extra people in the players' room, which, of course, because we're part of the major ecosystem here for the RMRs, they weren't allowed, you know? So I think they went down 2-0 in that game, and then they got the forfeit win, and then they ultimately ended up beating Wings Up in the upper final, and they didn't have to play Checkmate again. So
I mean, from some of those Mongolian photos and videos of Mongolian boot camps that I've seen, everything's so cramped up they might not have anywhere to actually put the rest of those people. To be fair,
well, either way, I'm not sure NKT will be feeling hugely confident going into Checkmate, but that's something that we can talk about when we get there. If it is indeed Checkmate, Jamyoung, Kaze certainly look like they're going to be sending NKT down into the lower bracket because this round is convincing from Vici Gaming, and in the end, it's a 16-10 result on Nuke. Overall, a 2-0 for the series, and no surprises that it will be Vici Gaming to go through into the upper bracket. Welcome back to IEM Fall for the Asia region. We're actually at the end of the night, basically. We do have, obviously, an interview coming up here with Kaze. We want to chat to Vici and see how they're going. But, of course, you know, it's I think, very much within the expectation that we had for this evening, Pilski. I had hopes. I had positive signs, I suppose, there from NKT that they might be able to do something here against Vici, but at the end of the day, they're just not quite able to cut the mustard. A 16-14 on Overpass, very unfortunate to get that one over the line. And then the 16-10 there on Nuke. I think we are pretty happy with what we saw in the end from Vici, maybe expecting that they'll need a little bit more against Tyloo, but overall, that was pretty good. We'll take a look at the highlights here as well as we, discuss the last matches that we got to watch there on Nuke, Pilski. But overall, I'm kind of, in a way, I'm kind of happy with what I got from both teams, to be honest. Right? On one hand, I'm happy Vici gets the 2-0. I think they did well. But on the other hand, I think NKT, they kind of contested a little bit more than I even expected them to. So overall, I can't walk away too disappointed.
Yeah, no doubt. I think we got a pretty solid couple of games here. Would have obviously liked it to go over more maps, so we got to see a little bit more from both squads. But I think NKT, really what this series came down to, I think Nuke is always a difficult prospect for any team against Vici Gaming, and we saw them exhibit exactly why that is. Again, just running circles around the opponents on the T side. You can see it in the highlights here, just duels being taken in parts of the map that you wouldn't necessarily see in other regions, in more sort of standard angles. You see Vici just always able to find gaps at the defense and find those annoying little timings against the opponents. As for NKT though, I mean, down into the lower bracket, they're going to have to